Modern-day reptiles are often pretty small. Just think of all the main extant reptilian groups: turtles, crocodilians, birds, and lizards. The largest living reptile alive today is the saltwater crocodile, which dwarfs in comparison to its extinct relatives, like the Deinosuchus and Purosaurus. The typically smallest group of the four previously mentioned groups are the lizards, or the squamata. The most common lizards in my region are brown anoles, and they're not much bigger than a roach. But if you go back several million years, you'll find some of the largest and strangest squamates to ever roam the earth. The squamata group is very odd, but is necessary to go through before continuing this video. The main groups of lizards are the Dibamidae, Geckoda, Skinkomorpha, Laterata, and the Toxicophora. The groups that hold the creatures I'll be talking about today are the Mosasauridae, the Ophididae, and the Varanidae. Mosasauridae is an extinct clade of marine lizards, including creatures such as the Mosasaurus or the Tylosaurus. And Ophididae is the clade in which all snakes lie within. And finally, the Varanidae includes all of the monitor lizards. These are all included within the Toxicophora group. The Mosasauridae was dominant during the late Cretaceous. The largest and most dominant of them all was the Mosasaurus hoffmanni, though another has been in the shadows, one that dominated the seas in several parts of the world, the Prognathodon. The Prognathodon's fossils have been uncovered in North America, Europe, Asia, and New Zealand, though many remains were fragmentary, and this led to lots of specimens being described as Prognathodon, but have later been found to be different species, such as Dolosaurus and Brachycerana. The Prognathodon was first discovered in Belgium in 1889, and the same year it was described by Louis Dallo as Prognathodon sauvei, though Prognathodon was not its original name. It was described as the Prognathosaurus, but in 1967 it began to be referred to as Prognathodon. The Prognathodon coexisted with many fish, plesiosaurs, turtles, as well as other mosasaurs. The Prognathodon would have preyed on fish and protostegid turtles, which is an extinct clade of mostly massive turtles, including the largest turtle ever, the Archelon. These turtles resembled leatherback sea turtles. It lived both in the Companion and Maastrichtian ages of the late Cretaceous, which spanned from approximately 85 to 66 million years ago. The type species, Prognathodon sauvei, could get to about 16 feet long, but the largest species, Prognathodon saturator, could have gone up to 39 feet long, which is as long as the second largest tyrannosaurid, the Tarbosaurus bataar. The Prognathodon had conical teeth, which it used to grab onto its prey in the water. Though the main attribute that it's known for is its large and robust jaws, which gave it a bite force which was on average 6,000 to 9,000 newtons, around 16% of the Tyrannosaurus rex's bite force. The Ophididae is a group containing all snakes, which are, in fact, lizards. We know this because of several transitional fossils of the lizards we know losing their legs and eyelids and turning into snakes. The Boidae family lies within the Ophididae and contains amazing snakes such as pythons and anacondas, which are some of the largest extant snakes. The northern green anaconda is probably the largest extant snake, with a length larger than 25 feet long, and was described this year. But 60 million years ago, there was a titanic snake that was over twice the length of the northern green anaconda. This amazing snake was called the Titanoboa cerrahonensis. In 2002, an expedition into the Cerrahon Formation uncovered several vertebrae from what they thought was a prehistoric crocodilomorph. As the years went by and more fossils of this creature were uncovered, they had enough fossil material to identify this as a snake and described it as Titanoboa cerrahonensis, whose genus name meant Titanic boa, and its specific name was named after the formation in which its fossils has been found. Titanoboa's original size specimens were 42 feet long, already dethroning the previous largest snake, Gigantophis. But in 2011, several skulls from larger individuals were found, making it apparent that its largest size is probably much larger, at 47 feet long. Titanoboa's weight could be anywhere from 1,600 to 2,500 pounds, meaning it could be over a ton, or in other words, be a contender for the largest terrestrial lizard to ever exist. The Titanoboa lived 60 million years ago in the Paleocene epoch of the Paleogene period, right as Earth was recovering from mass extinction that wiped out 70% of life, including the dinosaurs. Because of the size of this creature, it was thought to have been an apex predator of its environment. But after further analysis, it's been revealed that the Titanoboa was predominantly piscivorous, meaning it fed on fish, and it was also semi-aquatic. Serpentes is a group within the Ophidia, which includes the aforementioned Boidae as well as all the modern-day snakes. This means that there must be other, now extinct groups within the Ophidia, but not within the Serpentes. And this is correct. One of the main extinct groups within the Ophidia was the Mosasauridae, whose members lasted from around 70 to only 1 million years ago, with the Australian Wonombi remaining in this group's final days. But this group used to be much more expansive, and in this case, some lived in India, like the Vassuki Indicus. The Vassuki Indicus was described earlier in 2024 from several vertebrae, and based on the size of these vertebrae, we assumed this creature could reach sizes of 40 feet. The Vassuki is named after a Hindu mythological being, and is a reason it is referred to commonly as Vassuki Indicus, to avoid confusion. The Hall-type specimen was unearthed in 2005, and, like the Titanoboa, was thought to have been a crocodilomorph, but was later found to have been a snake. Unlike the Titanoboa, the Vassuki Indicus had the potential to be the dominant creature of its region. A reason for this is the way it fed. Like most modern-day snakes, it would constrict its prey until their heart stopped and they died. Normally, a snake would then swallow its prey whole, but not the Vassuki Indicus. After the death of its prey, it would proceed to tear out pieces of flesh with its razor-sharp teeth and eat it. A second reason for its dominance was its size, which was thought to have been around 40 feet, but newer estimates say it could have reached astonishing lengths of 50 feet long, making it the largest snake and possibly largest terrestrial lizard to ever exist. Probably the oddest monitor lizard to ever exist was the Saniwa. Overall, it seems like a normal lizard, with a length of an average iguana, except for the fact that most of its length of 7 feet was taken up by its tail. The Saniwa lived during the Eocene epoch, from 56 to 34 million years ago, in both Europe and North America. It contained two species, the Saniwa ensidens, who lived in North America, specifically Wyoming, and the Saniwa orsmalensis, who lived in Europe. It had two parietal eyes, which are light-sensitive structures on their heads, common on most lizards and the tuatara. Saniwa's closest living relative is Varanus, the genus containing most extant monitor lizards. Probably the most famous prehistoric lizard on this list is the Megalania. Megalania is an extinct species of monitor lizard that lived in Australia during the Pleistocene epoch. The Megalania isn't actually this lizard's true name, though. See, in 1859, when Sir Richard Owen first described the Megalania, who was the biologist and paleontologist who described the group Dinosauria, he named it Megalania prisca, Megalania meaning great roamer, and prisca meaning ancient. But as more fossils were found and more analyzing of this creature is done, they found out it was a species under the genus Varanus, with its closest living relative and closest relative being the Varanus comodensis, also known as the Komodo dragon. Even though Megalania isn't its true name anymore, it is still often referred to as the Megalania. The Megalania was a massive monitor lizard and a contender for the largest terrestrial lizard ever. But how big was it? The average size of most specimens is anywhere from 6 to 10 feet long. But some paleontologists believe the Megalania could get to larger sizes. The two main ones proposed being 23 feet long and 1,300 pounds, and 15 feet long and 700 pounds. The Megalania also had an astonishing speed, being able to cover over 8 feet in just a second at top speeds. As mentioned earlier, the Megalania's closest living relative is the Komodo dragon, which means it shares and could share several characteristics with it. One of the main things the Komodo dragon is known for is how it can bite its prey, and the bacteria in its mouth can kill the creature. This is only partly true. Well, technically, similar to this is employed by the Komodo dragons, It's not their mouth bacteria that kills the animal, but their venom. The Komodo dragon's venom contains anticoagulant properties, which make it so its victim does not stop bleeding. While it would be very cool if Megalania had venom, paleontologists are still on the fence about this. The Megalania lived in Australia from 1.5 million years ago to 50,000 years ago. Most believe that it was the apex predator, and how could it not be? For one, it was massive, as well as having razor-sharp teeth, but there were several other creatures on the same level, such as the Thylacoleo, often called the marsupial lion, which is a lion-sized marsupial that possibly had stronger bite force than the creature it was named after. There was also the quincana, a massive terrestrial and possibly semi-aquatic crocodilian. The Megalania could have been still very dominant without clashing with these creatures, as lots of times in nature, animals of the same stature typically have different ecological niches that they fill within the same environment. The Megalania fed on smaller reptiles and mammals, and possibly humans, which it might have coexisted with, while the Thylacoleo most likely hunted larger prey in larger groups. Lizards are very unique and odd creatures, which can be displayed by many extant creatures of the squamata, but also many extinct ones. Even though these creatures of bygone era seem like distorted versions of their present selves, they are still wonderful creatures who filled different niches, had different adaptations, and evolved in their own different ways. I hope you leave this knowing more about the amazing group of squamata, its clades, and its captivating creatures.